Hi, this is Jam, and today I will be talking about the special program in foreign language in pilot public schools in the Philippines. My proposed reform is the expansion of special program in foreign language or SPFL in public schools in the country. But before I delve deeper into the other parts of this presentation, let me first give you a brief overview of the implementation of the special program in foreign language in the country. So, according to the Department of Education, SPFL, or the Special Program in Foreign Language, helps learners develop skills in listening, reading, writing, speaking, and viewing that are fundamental in acquiring communicative competence in a second foreign language. Furthermore, the Special Program in Foreign Language, or SPFL, fundamentally aims to prepare students for higher education and employment with competence in a foreign language and to help foreign language learners to engage in meaningful interactions in a linguistically and culturally diverse global working environment. And among the foreign languages currently taught in secondary public schools are Spanish, French, Japanese, German, Chinese Mandarin, and Korean, according to the DepEd Education Order numbers 560, 55, 5 in 2008, 2009, and 2015 respectively. While there are various languages being taught in different schools, not all mentioned languages included in DepEd's SPFL are being taught by all pilot public schools. For example, in my case, my high school has been teaching only Nihongo and French since 2010 and 2012 respectively. Shown in this table are some of the languages that are being taught as part of the SPFL. This screenshot in particular is from a DepEd memo in 2012 on the summer training of teachers from pilot science and national high schools in the Philippines and the corresponding partner institutions of DepEd. For Japanese, it is the Japan Foundation Manila that conducts training for secondary teachers. In sending teachers for training, the travel expenses are shouldered by DepEd, while the training materials and fees are provided by the partner institutions. In fact, in 2017, DepEd spent 35 million pesos to fund SPFL, and they also used 22 million for training and capacity building programs for foreign language teachers. Thus, we can see that DepEd is indeed trying to integrate SPFL as it invests in training and capacity building programs to promote foreign language learning in the country. As one of the products of SPFL, I have observed that my sensei, although she's not Japanese, she was trained to conduct lessons in a Japanese way. Equity of outcomes was given an emphasis in our classes such that high achieving students can help lower achieving students within a group, within a classroom, or within a school. So, for instance, as part of the month-long celebration of World Teachers Day in my school, I was tasked by my Nihongo teacher to teach my classmates on her behalf. And this is called Student Empowerment Program, where the students teach the classes handled by the teacher for a week. In 2014 and in 2015, I was tasked to do the same, but at that time, I was teaching Nihongo to my batchmates. There were 5 sections of 25 students in one class, and 2 sections of which were taking Japanese. The other 3 sections were taking French as their foreign language elective. We already had TVs installed in our classrooms, but the teaching method was very traditional. We used flashcards provided by the Japan Foundation, and the task was for me to teach them the names of colors in Japanese. As for the historical foundation aspect of my experience as an SPFL learner, meritocratic ideology and an emphasis on discipline and competent performance were also observed. Responsible and social learners. So, similar to how Guo and Kuramochi described responsible learners in 2019, the SPFL teachers, particularly the teachers who were trained by the Japan Foundation Manila, spoke of strict rules and tasks as an important part of the Japanese learning journey. Deadlines were very strict, and it was our responsibility to submit our requirements on time. We were given hiragana and katakana sheets to trace and rewrite using a pencil repetitively. We were also asked to complete our entries and present it in class. However, collaborative learning was also promoted. We worked together with our classmates in completing our entry submissions in class. While collaboration was encouraged, the student who gets the best scores in exams and who actively participates gets the highest merit. And based on my experience, I can say that this was very effective. I didn't feel like studying Japanese when I was in ninth grade because I wanted to learn French at that time, as I already made a lot of reviewers and flashcards prior to that school year, only to be notified that the foreign language assigned to the pilot section has been changed to Nihongo from French. But in the end, I learned to appreciate the beauty of the Japanese language. Well, what I have learned in high school was very basic. It served as a good foundation for me when I decided to continue learning Nihongo in college. It may be repetitive, but the emphasis on discipline and on being a responsible learner is very helpful for a student who's trying to learn a new language. In my high school, language electives under the SPFL are taught only in grades 9 and 10 on a twice a week basis. Unlike English and Filipino, only a short period of time is allotted in learning a foreign language. It must also be noted that foreign languages in the Philippines are usually taught in the secondary level of education, where more importance is given to kenshu or skills than kyoiku or character. In the context of learning Japanese, the emphasis on Kenshu is very effective. I think that apart from Japanese, this shift on what is given more importance is also very useful in learning other languages after primary education. And to give you a concrete example, according to an article by Hartsborn et al. In 2018, the first direct estimate of how grammar learning ability changes with age and that it's preserved almost at 17.4 years old near adulthood and then declines steadily. So, as they say, we should strike while the iron is hot. Thus, it is only rational to teach Japanese at an age where students are more focused on acquiring skills rather than developing their character through games and other activities outside the classroom, just like how it is done in kindergarten. It is also interesting to note that DepEd mandated the SPFL program for secondary education. And in my case, it was in grades 9 and 10. Why? Because on average, grade 9 and 10 students still haven't reached adulthood. I was only 15 when I was in ninth grade and started learning Japanese, below the age where the grammar learning ability starts to decline. Now, the concept of equal outcome in the Japanese education system is as good as it is. However, I don't think that it can be applied in the Philippines easily. Equal outcome is not really achieved in the country, as evident in a study by Mesa in 2007, where poor provinces are found to have greater education inequality than non-poor provinces in the Philippines. And in the context of SPFL, not all public schools in the Philippines are given an opportunity for their teachers to be trained to teach the students a foreign language. While the intention is good, it is not realistic to be applied in the Philippines as long as the education system in the country does not offer SPFL to all schools. Now, on the concept of nexus of learning. Unlike in Japan, where the student is expected to change for the better given any curriculum or teacher at any age or his or her education, students in the Philippines are expected to follow what the curriculum mandates. Well, the new K-12 basic education curriculum has offered a design that allows a student more opportunity to freely choose an area of expertise he or she would like to pursue in senior high school. Academic activities such as uniform examinations in schools are given more importance than extracurricular activities. But as an SPFL student, I was able to learn according to the curriculum while also being able to freely grab other other learning opportunities and challenge myself. So, for example, the Department of Education organizes an annual national contest called National Festival of Talents. And during this competition, there is a segment for SPFL students from various divisions to compete by joining three different contests, namely Quiz Bee, cosplay, with extemporaneous or impromptu speech, as well as singing competition. In 2015, I was a National Festival of Talents delegate and joined the Quiz Bee and cosplay categories. This experience gave me a wider and a new perspective of learning Japanese. This also pushed me to try to learn the language beyond what the curriculum required, and it motivated me to continue learning Japanese even after graduating from high school. As for the measurement of outcomes, I think that the Japanese way of measuring the skills of a student through examinations is a classic way of gauging how much a student has learned. While standardized examination may not be the only way to do this, it remains a very good way to test students in an objective way. For instance, in order to test whether a student can speak basic beginner Japanese, the JLPT and its five divisions from N5 to N1 are more or less designed to let the student see where he or she is at. The increasing difficulty of the JLPT examination, or simply taking the JLPT, is a good way to measure what a Filipino student who was part of a DepEd's SPFL has learned after 2 years of learning Nihongo in high school. It is like a culmination of everything that a student has learned so far that allows one to check his or her proficiency in listening, reading, and writing. As for the speaking part, another way to measure the outcome is through speech competitions. Now, let's move on to the concept of individuality versus group orientation. As I have mentioned earlier, we were individually tasked to trace our individual worksheets of hiragana and katakana characters in a repetitive manner. While collaboration was encouraged in class for the top students to help struggling students, individuality was still given an emphasis. Unlike in Japan, where harmony is expected to be maintained and where people are expected not to create unnecessary ripples or to stand out, the curriculum in the Philippines is designed in such a way that the curriculum is not too rigid. This way, students who are not into learning Japanese can fail but still get into a very good university after high school graduation. But in terms of application, I think the good side of group orientation in the Japanese education system is the way the students are uh, is the way students that are doing well are encouraged to help struggling students out. I think this is a very healthy way of learning a new language because this is the exact opposite of competition. As for the use of Japanese teaching and learning methods, rote memorization is one of the Japanese learning methods that I find helpful in raising the quality of education in our schools in the context of learning a new language through the special program for foreign language by DepEd, particularly in learning Japanese. While rote memorization has a negative reputation as being an unthinking way of learning, I think that repetition of things we want to remember is a good way or method in learning kanji. According to a study by Yoshiko Mori in 2020, the respondents in her research, particularly the instructors of the Japanese language, considered rote memorization, memory, and metacognitive strategies effective in kanji instruction. And this is the logic behind the repetitive worksheets that we had to trace when learning katakana and hiragana. And personally, the use of physical flashcards also helped me a lot in learning kanji and in preparing for JLPT, as the use of this strategy promotes active recall. However, this is not to say that other learning strategies are not applicable when it comes to learning foreign languages. But This is just to emphasize that rote memorization can be a very useful learning strategy when used correctly. For example, if I use this strategy to remember the correct stroke order and the meaning of a kanji, rote memorization can help me build my vocabulary and improve my sentences. However, if I use rote memorization to memorize math formulas without or instead of learning how these formulas are derived, then there is a tendency that I will not easily learn the formula, but rather just remembering them in a short term. So, what are the changes in programs or processes that is concerned with SPFL that I'd like to change or maybe modify? Here are some of my proposals. So, number one is to expand teacher training programs to reach non-pilot high schools. Number two is to deploy native language speakers to teach in schools because it's really different when a native speaker is the one who's teaching you instead of a non-native speaker, particularly when it comes to correct pronunciation and accurate reading of kanji. Number three is to provide more opportunities for students to join SPFL competition. So as someone who already joined the competition, I think it's a really good avenue for a student to learn through his or her experience. And fourth is to promote JLPT in high schools because it's really a good way to gauge where you are at if you want to know how proficient you are in Japanese. And lastly, I'd like I'd like to I'd like for a reform that provides short-term language training programs abroad and opportunities for Filipino students apart from the existing student exchange programs. So that ends my presentation and thank you for listening. The next slide will be my references. Thank you.